Hello and welcome again to the analysis of A Silent Song and Other Stories, an anthology of short stories edited by Godwin Sundu. Now we're supposed to be moving to story number 10, which is God Sees the Truth but Waits by Leo Tolstoy. But we will not do that because this short story was tested last year. And from experience, a short story cannot be retested. So please, you'll allow me to move to the next short story, The Neighbourhood Watch by Rem'y Ngamije from Rwanda and Namibia. Born in Rwanda, but setting the story in Namibia where he works, Rem'y Ngamije. If you like this story, if you like this analysis, and you want to help me push this to the next level, then please subscribe. Now let's dive right in. Now, Neighbourhood Watch is a contemporary story set in Namibia, touching on the struggles that the street families face in order to eke out a living. The author, Rem'y Ngamije, is trying to point towards organized crime, poor health, social ills, waste disposal, as well as class stratification, clearly brought out in this short story. And of course, this short story will begin with the family street, that organized group called Neighbourhood Watch. It's made up of Elias, Lazarus, Silas, Omagano, and Martin. They are waking up. And to point to their struggle, there is no breakfast for them. Instead, what the group has is a chorus of yawns. Imagine, they are waking up to a chorus of yawning, sprinkled with stretching. So it points towards struggle and hardships that they face in the street. And they live under a bridge, actually a concrete abutment. They compare the abutment to a precious real estate because they have nowhere else to live. They live under a bridge, that concrete support that supports a bridge. And for this family, this organized group called the Neighbourhood Watch, for the Neighbourhood Watch to earn a living, they have to scavenge and forage through dustbins in search of food and other valuables. And at the same time, they are forced to engage in, to steal, engage in crime in order to survive. So this is what we call organized crime by the group, by this, what we call Neighbourhood Watch. We have their leader called Elias, who is an elderly person an elderly man with even his hair showing some gray. But Elias knows a lot of most of the kitchen staff in the city's hotels and restaurants. And sometimes these staff have to leave some decaying produce for Elias and his group. Some morsel for the group so that they can actually eat. But this is not always the case. Rem'y Ngamije is telling us that this is not always the case because most of the time, the kitchen staff have to sneak food for their own families. They are also suffering, so they have to sneak food for their own families, leaving the group with nothing. So the group has been very organized and tactical for them to survive. Sometimes they have to be early and target bins around restaurants where they could find semi-fresh morsels, but still it wasn't always the case. So they'll be forced to walk to town. So they have to walk to town in groups. They have divided themselves into two groups. One group that is looking for food, another one that's looking for other valuables. And then look at their health. Someone like Elias. Elias has a very bad cough. In fact, the author tells us that it's a racking cough. A racking cough. The cough becomes worse each day. Sometimes there's even blood, but he would wave people's concerns away and say, blood is part of life and death. So look at their health status. They are not okay. They are suffering. They need medical attention, but they are not going forth to seek medical attention because they don't have means for the same. And then you have Omagano. Omagano is the only female member, and she plays a very vital role. We are told that children and women are important. Children because of their loyalty. And then women are also incredible help to the group. Because sometimes the rubbish bins that they go to scavenge in are fenced off and they're guarded by guards. We have guards who are guarding those fenced off rubbish bins. So in order for them to trespass, they have to bribe the guards. They have to bribe those guards. And most of cases, because they don't have $10, it is Omagano who's going to sleep with maybe one of the guard for them to get food. So Elias and Lazarus and Omagano are always looking for food. And someone like Lazarus, his importance is his physical, the way he is made. He has muscles, he has those prison tattoos, pointing to the fact that he's been a criminal. And his physical presence helps, especially when violence has to be silenced and all that. So they three are actually responsible for looking for food. And then Silas and Martin scavenge for other essentials such as blankets, broken crates, trolleys, toothpaste, what have you. They actually loiter around construction sites for purposes of even filching, that is stealing. For instance, when a trolley is unattended to, when a trolley has been left in front of a store and it's unattended to, they push it away and trade it with something useful. So Silas will even steal cell phones and claim he had discovered them. So look at that. So this one points towards crime. So the group is always organized into two. Then meet later in the late afternoon for lunch and to look at the valuables brought in by Silas and Martin. And then the author has also geographically divided the town. This geographical division or splitting of the town. And this one points towards class stratification, the poor versus the rich. For instance, the crew, they love Osblick, which is a rich suburb, despite being very far from their abode. People there knew how to throw away things. They throw away even valuables. They could forage and discover broken toasters, blenders, kettles, and some food. This neighborhood has been contrasted with the poor ones like Kututura, Hakahana, and Wanaheda, where poor people live, and poor people have nothing left to throw unless they throw themselves. In this part of the town, the group will only come across garbage and sometimes thrown babies, and they don't want anything to do with a thrown baby. And they have one golden rule, this neighborhood watch. In the streets, there is no future, there is only today. The goal is always to survive. Social ills have also been illustrated clearly, where Elias, in reminiscence, he remembers the day he found a baby in a bin wrapped in a newspaper, and they had to upgrade to richer neighborhoods because in poor neighborhoods, poor people will just throw garbage and babies and what have you. In a flashback, also, we are made to understand that Amos, there was a member called Amos who had been a group member, lost his life in a club while drunk after he got into a fight. This also points towards police brutality because of what they did to Elias and Lazarus. They were beaten up despite being innocent. So they were left with swollen eyes, 3 broken ribs, and limbs that took days to heal, but at least they were alive. So this points towards police brutality. And then the group will finish their forage on Sunday by visiting Windhawk and Eros, which is a rich neighborhood with more efficient waste management. And this, the author is trying to tell us about the need for waste management through recycling. And one reason why the neighborhood watch loves Eros is because of the kind woman called Besudinhot. I was told it should be pronounced as Zudinhot. She would always wait for them to arrive. This is an old woman in a rich neighborhood in Eros. She will give them cans of beans and peas, 2 or 3 bananas, and even previously she had given them a pair of scissors and a mirror. And in winter she will collect old clothes and knit jerseys and blankets for them. So look at how kind she is. This is what made the neighborhood watch to exist. So the neighborhood watch is existing because of Elias' street know-how. He knows the street code. And the Lazarus' ability to contain violence, and then the old Mrs. Bessie Dinhot's generosity. The neighborhood watch wonders what will happen. In fact, this is what they say. They wonder what is going to happen when she will no longer be there to help them. It is so bad that for the first time, the neighborhood watch break their own rule and they start thinking about tomorrow. So neighborhood watch, we're just looking at this street family with no one to help them. They have to survive apart from the old woman there. They have to survive through thick and thin by ravaging streets and stealing where need be, and just making sure that the day ends and then there is tomorrow and they begin afresh, and all that through organized crime. So that is Neighborhood Watch. Now, possible cases equations that may be asked from this short story. Number one, people who live in the streets go through main hurdles in order to survive. Basing your argument on Rem'y Ngamije's The Neighborhood Watch, write your essay. Number two, you need to be smart to survive in the street setup. You need to be smart to survive in a street setup. Then lastly, social ills are rampant in the contemporary society. Then you write your essay. Now remember, when they ask you about the challenges that people who live in streets face, you have to bring out the fact that these people have no proper housing. Look at the housing. They live under a bridge, an abutment of the bridge. So look at that one. Look at even their clothes. Look at their clothes. They are not the best clothes. Look at Elias, the leader of the group, who is sick, has a very bad cough, a racking cough, but he cannot seek medical assistance. Look at even their security. When one of them is killed, called Amos, is killed. And look also at the police brutality. Look at the fact that these people have to eat from the gutter, literally. Sometimes they have to bribe in order to get what is in the gutter, and so on. So when they ask you such, look at how vulnerable this group is to their own security, including dying and what have you. And then you need to be smart to survive in the streets. You look at how they have organized themselves. One of them knows the cooking staff in major restaurants and hotels in town. That is Elias. Look at that. One of them has a physically imposing figure that helps in violence. That is Lazarus. So you look at how they are organized. One group looks at food. Martin will look at maybe other valuables. So they are really, really organized, and they know when to wake up. They have to wake up early sometimes in order to find food in those beans and what have you. So they are very organized. They know where to go. They have their own days, on Monday, on Tuesday, on Saturday, on Sunday. So they have divided those days so that they know how to survive in the streets. They also know where to avoid because they will not get food. So if you put all those points together, you will be in a position to score highly. Thank you for watching, and if you like this content, please don't forget to subscribe so that you can push this content to more people. Until next time, it is goodbye.